Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette, and we're here to talk some quarterbacks on this Thursday morning edition of the Husker Big Red podcast. We're not going to talk too much about what happened last night on the basketball floor because we got too many other good things to talk about here. Not good things, I guess, per se, but a lot to talk about, hopefully some good things. And what I think is a good thing, it's interesting, I don't know if you saw the report from I think it's Pete Nakos from On Three, but basically he was talking about Nebraska being the most aggressive team right now in the transfer portal when it comes to the quarterback position. So I think that is probably true, and that at least it's music to my ears. What about you as a Nebraska football fan?
Yeah, because they realize that quarterback is a problem, and I think the alarm bells are kind of sounding in the quarterback room, especially with Jeff Sims entering the transfer portal. Like, hey, like we need some guys here, and you know, uh, say what you want about their chances of landing any of these quarterbacks, but at least they're being aggressive and trying and not waiting around. I like the fact that they're covering all the bases. Uh, visits with Sam Levitt to Kyle McCord to Cam Ward to Blake Shapen. I mean, they're at least doing their homework and racking up those frequent flyer miles instead of sitting on their hands and doing nothing, which is what previous coaching staffs would have done. And quite honestly, I like it. I like it a lot. Now, like I just said, it remains to be seen, who we will land, but I like their aggressiveness very early as the quarterback room may need not one, but multiple quarterbacks for next fall.
That's definitely a good point. Before we continue this more, I should have said this at the beginning, but please, if you haven't already, you guys make sure that you subscribe. Don't miss any of our Nebraska Cornhuskers content. So yeah, make sure that you do us a favor, get in the comment section, hit the like button, do all that stuff. It helps us continue to make this content for you guys. But yeah, like you were saying, Danny, it's good to see that Nebraska knows they have to address the position. Like you said, Jeff Sims did announce his transfer, or I guess he didn't announce it, but it's expected that he is going to enter the portal, which is what everybody thought. He's going to graduate and he'll be immediately eligible after that. The same will apply to Chuba Purdy if he decides to go that route. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it kind of works out. But yeah, I mean, Nebraska is one of the top teams in the mix for Cameron Ward. Marcus Satterfield flew out to see him. I mean, they got that new Learjet, I guess, for the recruiting purposes, and they're putting it to good use. I mean, Kyle McCord, like you said, Blake, they visited Blake Shapen, Will Howard. So they're definitely, not sitting idly by. And I think that that's a good thing. So I think on Monday when we talked, I don't believe that Nebraska had been really connected to Kyle McCord a whole lot because he had just entered the transfer portal at that point. And now, obviously, 3 days later, really they're really making a strong push for Kyle McCord. I feel like if there was, if they had a board, like Kyle McCord might be the number one guy. Just like I think if they could shake anybody they wanted, maybe Cameron Ward. But I don't know about you, but I think that Kyle McCord makes a lot of sense for Nebraska.
I think he does too, and I know Ohio State fans, complained about Kyle McCord this season, but Ohio State fans would complain if their running back had 11 touchdowns as opposed to 17 touchdowns the year before. So, I don't really take their complaints too seriously. I mean, quite honestly, they expect a different standard than we do, and they have had a better history of churning out quarterbacks than we have. And I'd be fine with Kyle McCord. I was looking at his watching some of his, highlights the other day. He's a good deep ball passer. He can, make his touch throws really well. And it looks to me, and I don't know if you got this sense as well, but a guy like Will Howard, guys like Kyle McCord, even to some degree Cam Ward, you know, they can run a little bit, but their focus is primarily staying in the pocket and making those throws.
Yeah, Kyle McCord, excuse me, is definitely more of a pocket passer. I mean, he can run a tiny bit. I mean, if he needs to, but yeah, he's more of a pocket guy. And Ohio State doesn't really do the. I mean, ever since Urban Meyer left, they've been strictly all pocket. I mean, passers. Like C.J. Stroud barely ran ever, so that's just not part of what Ohio State does. I do think that Kyle McCord could do it a little bit, like if he needed to. Um, but yeah, I mean, you talked about the different standard. I mean, this guy, if Nebraska had a quarterback that threw for 300 or 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. I mean, they'd be talking about building a statue for the guy. I mean, because it's
Yeah.
been that long. I mean, think about Taylor Martinez is the last time Nebraska had a good quarterback. I mean, it's been that long. Adrian Martinez was fine. He could do some things, but I mean, this is the position that has plagued this program for a decade. There's a reason why this team hasn't gone to a bowl game. And you can, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can look at all the different things that have happened, all the close games and stuff, but you lose close games because you don't have a good quarterback. I mean, that has been what has snake bitten this program basically since, I mean, even really since Bo Pelini left, because not Mike Riley, not Scott Frost, not Matt Rule have been able to address this quarterback position. So I think that it's smart that Nebraska is finally going out to the transfer portal, and because they need to land one of these top quarterbacks, in my opinion. I mean, at the very least, I would like to get Blake Shapen, but I mean, I was thinking about it because they're talking with Julian Fleming too from Ohio
I was gonna
State.
say, I'd take him too.
Yeah, and I wrote that on HuskerBigRed.com. I think that would be the dream scenario for this team, and that's how I think you could sell it to Kyle McCord. If I think a big question is, does he want to stay in the same conference as Ohio State? But he is from Pennsylvania, so he strikes me as a Big Ten guy. Rule obviously is from Pennsylvania, has got a lot of ties there with playing at Penn State and coaching at Temple. And then you look at what kind of offense can you build around him? Well, if you add a guy like Julian Fleming, you could have Fleming, Malachi Coleman, Jalen Lloyd in the slot, Thomas Fedoni. Then you've got these other kind of freshman receivers up and coming. You've got Emmett Johnson back at running back, Ramir Johnson, Gabe Irvin. You're basically your top 6 offensive linemen at this point, all coming back. So I mean, yeah, I think that Nebraska does have quite a bit to sell to a Kyle McCord or to another quarterback. And if you put that together, you got a pretty solid offense, and then you look at all the guys coming back on defense. And so, I think that there is a chance that Nebraska could be a really good team with Kyle McCord. And like you think about it, like being the quarterback to to lead Nebraska to back to a bowl game or back into just having like a winning season, like he could really, I mean, whoever takes this job could really have a good season here and be remembered very fondly as a Nebraska Cornhusker if they decide to take that path.
Absolutely, and I mean, you think about, the young talent that you mentioned, Malachi Coleman, Jalen Lloyd. I think you could sell that. I think you could sell the fact that he could probably bring Julian Fleming with him. I think you could sell the fact that, this football means so much to the state, and football means, so much to, you know, I guess, what a lot of people are. Like the Nebraska Cornhuskers to this state are more than just, a football team. They're a way of life. And it's similar, you know, at Ohio State, but I mean to be the Nebraska quarterback that, takes them back to some respectability or the promised land, that definitely that would definitely increase his legacy and, you know, allow him to be remembered, probably as one of the best quarterbacks in Nebraska history. And I think that's true with any of these quarterbacks that we visited. All the names you mentioned, Shapen, Ward, McCord, I wouldn't be mad if we landed any one of those guys. I mean, we just need that quarterback to be able to um, you know, run the offense. And, quite honestly, I've heard people concerned that, this is a running offense, this isn't quarterback friendly. I think it was a running offense a lot last year, partly because the Sims experiment didn't work out early and the injury bug hit us. And I think we were kind of forced to adjust, especially, when, the quarterbacks, and I mean that as a collective position, couldn't make a throw or, were inconsistent. And the running backs last year were the only real group that, in my opinion, played consistently offensively. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. And I think we're going to see, the type of offense that they really want to run in 2024, provided they get, a good quarterback.
Yeah, and then I mean, and the
Yeah,
injuries too. I mean, because it is like receivers a tough position to learn coming out of high school. When you're learning new route trees and stuff, it's usually quite a bit more complex than high school systems. And so losing Marcus Washington and Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, I think really did hinder this passing offense. And you could see, I mean, Jalen Lloyd and Coleman they started to have a few plays here and there, but it's not like those guys were probably utilizing the entire playbook. So I mean, getting them another year in the system is going to be huge. And yeah, a guy like McCord, I think would do really well here. I mean, people want to look at that Michigan game, and yeah, I know he had 2 interceptions, but if you watch that game, I mean, he made some spectacular throws. He really did. He played better than I thought that he could play, and I mean, the second interception, you can't really blame on him. I mean, there's 30 seconds left in the game. He's trying to throw the football and gets pressure into his face, but I don't, like, and the first interception too is more of a timing thing. And the Michigan guy just jumped it. And frankly, Marvin Harrison didn't fight for the ball either time. Like, if you look at the second interception, the Michigan guy dives for the ball right in front of Marvin Harrison, and he just does not fight for the ball at all. And the second, on the first interception, it's the same thing. So I mean, I definitely think that there's something to, I mean, the fact that the Ohio State is kind of soft. And like, so I'm not really even blaming those two in them. It's not like they were terrible throws or bad decisions. And he made some spectacular throws in that game. It wasn't just like he chucked it up to Marvin Harrison and he made plays. He made some really big time throws, actually some better throws than JJ McCarthy, I thought at times. It just didn't work out at the end that the pass rush got to him. But I think on this team, I really do think he could be a really good player. And people want to talk about, question the offensive line. And like, I still think, yeah, they could use a tackle maybe in the portal, but, Bryce Bennett was third team all Big Ten or whatever. Like, if he comes back and, Teddy comes back, I thought Teddy
Ben
played
Scott.
decent. Yeah. Ben Scott, Ethan Piper, Turner Corcoran. And then you got, Preston Tamua and Grant Bricks. You got Gunnar Gatula with another year under his, but I mean, this offensive line is bringing back almost everybody. And I thought they took a pretty big step forward.
Yeah.
So, and Emmett Johnson, I mean, how many games did we see him rush for, over 75 yards when he's only getting 15 carries? So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of pieces here, and whoever comes, I feel like there is a lot for this program to sell, at the quarterback position. Now, I don't know, with McCord is basically looking at, it's like trying to play this game of QB carousel, right? Because everybody like needs a quarterback. And I feel like with Nebraska, I think the biggest competitions like maybe Miami, Pittsburgh, and then I've heard Mississippi State. I just don't see him going to Mississippi State. I just don't think that that's a spread system. With, I know Jeff Lebby does great work with quarterbacks, but I just don't see that for Kyle McCord. So, and I don't really see him going to Pitt because they don't really do the NIL. They're not a big NIL program, and
No.
so I feel like either you want to play in one of the two big conferences, which is Nebraska or Miami, or you're just going to take a ton of NIL money to go play for Miami. So that's the team that I'm worried about with Kyle McCord more than anybody. And I know that, Matt Rule has talked about it, but maybe Matt Rule was saying that like, hey, I need this much money to go get a quarterback. So, I mean, I feel like that they wouldn't be this aggressive if they
Well, I
didn't
think
have,
that's exactly what he was saying. I think that's
yeah.
the most as direct as he could without saying, "Hey, I need this money."
Yeah, because I mean, I don't see them being this aggressive without having the ability to give them the
Right.
NIL money that they need. I mean, like that would be like going to if you're going to go fly to meet with Kyle McCord, that you're going to have to give him at least like $1 million in NIL. I mean, that's just how it works. So hopefully they can make that happen. But I do think it would be a great situation for him. He would get a chance to play Ohio State. I don't know if he
Yeah.
wants that or not, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I mean, I think it seems like to me that like Dylan Gabriel's going to Oregon. And it seems like I feel like Cameron Ward's going to end up at Ohio State. I mean, there's not like anything for sure saying that. I just feel like that's going to be, if I
I
was
know
Cam
he's in
Ward,
with Miami today, so we'll see how that plays out.
yeah. If I was Cam Ward, I just feel like Ohio State fits him so perfectly in terms of like throwing the football down the field with all those receivers and what they want that offense to be. So I don't know. That's just if I was Cameron Ward, it would be hard for me to say no to Ohio State, but um, you know, that doesn't mean that like I said, Kyle McCord, let's see who else is out there. I feel like Dante Moore is going to end up at Michigan, or maybe Miami too. I think Miami's going to, and then the other thing too is there's other guys like Malik Murphy hasn't even entered the portal. The guy from Tulane hasn't even entered the transfer portal yet. So there's,
Oh, Michael
yeah,
Pratt?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So there's definitely going to be, more guys that kind of enter into this thing, in my opinion. It seems like, Will Howard maybe. I feel like Nebraska and USC are kind of the two teams mixing it up for Will Howard. Um, So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I feel like guys are taking visits this weekend, and we'll probably know a lot more. I haven't heard about any of these quarterbacks taking a visit to Nebraska yet, outside of Sam Levitt talked about it. So that would be if you could get Kyle McCord on campus, then I feel like you're probably whichever QB you get on campus. I feel like that's going to be the guy.
Yeah, and I think, um, I think with Cam Ward, I think Miami's going to be a major player. I think with Kyle McCord, I feel really good about where Nebraska stands with him. Um, it's kind of interesting that as soon as Matt Rule made a statement about how much you need for a quarterback, the donation from Learjet came in on Friday, and now they're flying all across the country trying to find these quarterbacks. So I think he helped himself by saying that. People wanted to bash him for that, but it's true. I mean, you're gonna need a lot of money to land these big time quarterbacks, and you know, spare me the talk of, "Oh, they're just kids, just play football." You either pay quarterbacks or pay players money or you get left behind. And Nebraska's done a damn good job of being left behind over the past, 10 years. And, now they need to make big moves. And just like reflecting in general, this is probably one of the most craziest transfer portal classes that I've seen in quite some time. I mean, there's just so much talent. I totally forgot about Dylan Gabriel. I mean, I know we're not going to land him, but even he would be a guy that I would like to have. So there's a lot of options, and hopefully Nebraska gets it right this time.
And even like I'm forgetting the name. I might have to double check, but like Toledo's quarterback, who was the back player
Oh
of the
yeah, yeah,
year,
yeah.
like he's in the transfer portal. So yeah, there's a lot of guys I think that are going to be making that that those group of five guys trying to make that move up. And so yeah, it is a crazy year. And looking back at like the
Dequan Smith
2021,
is
yeah,
the Toledo quarterback.
and he's heck, I wouldn't be, he's kind of a guy that I think Nebraska could, kick the tires on if some of these other ones don't work out. But I mean, yeah, if you look back at the 2021 recruiting class, I can't remember what it was, but like it might be. I think JJ McCarthy's the only one like in the top 5 or 10 that actually finished at his same school. Like Caleb Williams transferred, Kyle McCord I mean, all the a bunch of top guys. I mean, look at Dante Moore, who was a top 2 or 3 quarterback in 2023, is already transferring. So it's kind of crazy how the quarterback position works. And I mean, we're talking about Nebraska, going to the portal, but that's almost everybody anymore. I mean, you either go get a guy really young and early, or you go to the portal because like USC's got a 5-star quarterback sitting there that they must not think he's quite ready yet. So it's crazy how college football has changed and how the
Yeah.
quarterback position is just I mean, you're just seeing teams overhaul it every single year, and it's just wild.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky got Brock Vandegrift, and
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent fit for the Wildcats. So, I mean, there's just a lot of big moves being made this early on, and we haven't even gotten to the second cycle of the transfer portal yet, and already we're seeing a ton of movement. So, as long as Nebraska can land their quarterback, I'm confident about the rest of the team. And we have National Signing Day coming up when, or early signing day coming up next week,
I believe it's the
or
20th, so we're like 2
okay.
weeks 2 weeks from yesterday, actually, 2 weeks from yesterday.
So let's
So
see, the
yeah,
20th. Yep, the 20th.
the 20th. Yeah, and so one good thing to note on that front, Matt Rule and the staff, they've gone out or will go out and see every single commitment in person, which I think is a great thing. And you don't really hear much about, any movement among, we're not hearing
Yeah.
anything about, Carter Nelson. There was a little, rumblings about McGahee and Ja'Cory Barney, but Barney seemed, I mean, he's going to enroll early. And I mean, yeah, seems like McGahee's still pretty solid. So right now,
Kalen's enrolling in January.
yeah, which is a really good thing. Lots of guys are. I mean, it looks like almost half the class is enrolling early. I'd have to.
Well, I think they know that this is the class that is gonna either make or break the program, so I think they're all ready to go. I mean,
It's a really great class. Would have been even. Can you imagine with Kewan Lacey and Carlon Jones? I mean,
oof.
God, it's really frustrating how that kind of works out.
I
But
would
I mean,
rather lose out to Alabama and, the bigger
yeah,
schools and try than to not try at all and lose out to sorry, Worcester, Massachusetts, but Holy Cross. I mean, there were days when we were losing out to smaller schools, and if you fish with the big boys, you're bound to lose out on some of them. So, at least Nebraska tried, and I know nobody wants to hear that, but definitely counts for something right now, and it speaks to, how Matt Rule is trying to get the program back on a national level and focus.
And it shows Nebraska can hit on their evaluations, right? Because neither Kewan Lacey or Carlon Jones were like, nationwide targets. I mean, Lacey a little bit more, but Carlon Jones was like barely even ranked before Nebraska offered him. So I think that, in the future, when Matt Rule, is taking the commitment from a guy who doesn't have very many offers and has, 0 stars, we can all take solace in the fact that he knows what he's doing, and this coaching
Some of us
staff.
take solace in the fact.
Yeah. I mean, look, sometimes we're all going to lose our heads. I lose my head. I get insane as a fan. Like that's the definition of right being a fan is fanatic, right? That's the long. So obviously, like I don't begrudge people, but at some point, like some of you guys just have to quit being quite so negative. Like I understand. Like I will get negative for a time. It's like a circle, but then I come back to the positive, and some of you never hit the positive. So
Yeah.
just try to find some balance. I understand going off the deep end, like it's very easy to do following this program for the last decade. Like so you get a few free passes, like go absolutely insane.
I definitely
Um
get the jaded nature because,
yeah, but
2021 really kind of hammered that point home, but,
yeah, it's like that meme with the guy getting kicked in the nuts, That
yeah.
that literally is that's I reminded me of that last night watching that basketball game. Not want to talk about it, but still. Anyways,
You talk
I
about the evaluation process that Matt Rule has had. I mean, just look at Jalen Lloyd. He went from, 0 offers and no stars at this time last year to catching touchdown passes in Lincoln, so
and three of over 50 yards, which the only other player to do that was Marvin Harrison Jr. So I mean that's pretty, and I saw somebody like yesterday on Twitter or something being like, oh, we need to get this guy in the slot. Are you kidding me? Jalen Lloyd's gonna be our
no.
slot next year. Get out of here. Like he'll play some on the outside, but that dude is like built to be a slot because I mean, when you put the nice thing about putting somebody as the slot, and then they can't get jammed basically. And
Yeah.
give me Jalen Lloyd with a free release all day, which brings me to another point. Before I forget and get off tangent, Donovan McCulley from Indiana is a
Yeah.
wide receiver Nebraska offer. There's going to be a lot of guys in the mix for this guy. He played quarterback, and last year he had 48 catches, I think, for 644 yards and 6 touchdowns, but 6'5", 200 pounds. And, I've been talking about how they need just one kind of veteran receiver, and he would be a great fit. I would love Julian Fleming too, but I wouldn't mind this guy at all.
I'll take them all. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd
just take
love
them all.
I mean,
Screw
McCulley
the
or
roster limits.
McCulley or Fleming would be great additions, and I think having a veteran presence in the wide receiver room, will help, Coleman and Lloyd continue to develop. I mean, we saw just for example what Trey Palmer was able to do in his one season here, and that's all we need. And I'll say it for the rest of the show: it's a good quarterback. Once we get a quarterback settled, then I think everything else will fall into place.
I totally agree. Yeah, and and I don't think Nebraska is going to be that active. I mean, maybe linebacker. Maybe they try to add a linebacker.
Well, they're following the guy from Maryland, I believe.
Yeah, he would be a good one to get. And
And
then
Tony White's also following Princewell Umamilian's brother on Twitter,
yeah,
and these Twitter
Princely, right?
followers do amount, yeah, Princely, and they do amount to something. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because they're trying to content. I think that Princely would be a great because you can never have enough pass rushers, right? I mean, that's one thing you can never have enough guys on the edge to attack the opposing quarterback. So he would be awesome. But
I
yeah,
read the
outside of
headline
that,
real quick, and it said like Prince entered the transfer portal. I'm like, oh no, like, but it's his
yeah,
brother. Phew, I got really
yeah,
scared when I first read it. I'm like, oh no.
yeah, that would be scary. That would because he's going to be but I mean, if you had Princely to Prince Well and then to Cameron Lenhart and
Ooh.
James Williams and Kai Wallen, I mean, this team has some pass rushers.
And
So
think about James Williams. I mean, he was an unheralded like community college
yeah, he was
player,
great.
and he ended up being really good, and he kind of went under the radar. He committed during that busy stretch in June when we got like 10,000 commitments all at once, and he kind of went under the radar. But he ended up playing really, really well this season, and that's just another example of the solid evaluation process.
Yeah, I like him. Jamari Butler is going to be back. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a lot of, MJ Sherman. Let's see, Makai is
I
Grabor.
thought he played really well this season.
I always mess up his name. So,
Me
and
too.
then like Javin, I know we're losing linebackers, but Javin Wright, I feel like is ready to start. And then,
Yeah, he did a little bit last year with the injuries.
if Bullock comes back, I still think sure they could use another guy, but there's some other guys too, like Dylan Rogers. Eric Fields could still
Yeah,
be. I know he played safety last year, but he could still be in the mix at linebacker. So, yeah, I feel like just overall in the portal, there's not a ton of needs outside of I'd say quarterback, receiver, maybe linebacker, maybe cornerback, and then just impact players. Like I don't think Nebraska necessarily needs an edge, but Princely is just a guy that can impact your team in a positive way. So if you can get better in that way, you go do it. But they don't have a ton of needs outside of quarterback, like we said.
yeah, and you look, even on the defensive line, you have Riley Van Poppel. I thought he played well in Spurs last season. So I
Yeah, I
mean,
forget him about him too much.
yeah, me too. And I think we're gonna need to, know his name.
Maverick Noonan too,
Yeah,
if
I
he
mean,
gets bounces back from the injury, but he
it's.
looked good before he got hurt.
I know. I really hope he does bounce back and get back to form because this is what it's like when you have a program that has depth. And we're not all the way there yet, obviously, but you can see the foundation of the house being built.
So before we wrap up today's episode here, we got a few more minutes. I wanted us to each go on record here with our predictions for what we think will happen with the quarterback carousel, so we can give fans our thoughts on it. So I guess do you want me to go first, or do you want to take your first shot, Danny?
I'll take my first shot. I think Sam Levitt is going to be a given, but I don't think he's going to be our only quarterback that we get. Um, I think at the end of the day, based on everything that I've seen so far, and I know it's all rumors and stuff like that, but Kyle McCord I think would make the most sense for Nebraska, and I think he'll be our starting quarterback come next fall.
That's I'm going to go with Kyle McCord as well. It just makes a lot of sense to me this move. I think Matt Rule can really sell that. Hopefully he can kind of connect with him over the Pennsylvania stuff. And I think if they can get an NIL offer that is in the same window as Miami, then I feel like they're going to have a good chance. And Miami's going to have some other guys that they're still targeting too. So it's not like it's Kyle McCord or bust for Miami. It's not necessarily for Nebraska either. If they don't get Kyle McCord, I think, a Blake Shapen and Sam Levitt could do wonders for this program. But I do feel like right now, gun to my head, I feel like Kyle McCord will be a Nebraska Cornhusker. I hope that trends out. I just feel like it makes a lot of sense for both sides, not just for Nebraska, but for Kyle too. So yeah, and I think Matt Rule is coming from the NFL. So I mean, I do think even though he's not known as a QB guru type, I mean, he can at least give guys an evaluation like this is what NFL teams want, this is what they're looking for.
He also has PJ Walker under his belt, so there is that.
Yeah, there's that, man. Hey, it all
Yeah,
helps.
yeah.
And I mean, I do think there are a lot of things, and even I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, everybody at South Carolina was like, "Oh, get rid of Marcus Satterfield." Yeah, their offense didn't look better this year. They had a worse record, and Spencer Rattler played worse this year, even though they have one of the best receivers in all of college football. So maybe I don't know, maybe Marcus Satterfield isn't as bad of a coordinator as the people at South Carolina and Nebraska think he is. We'll see, but
And maybe
it,
Spencer Rattler isn't as good as everybody thinks he is, and I've always thought that honestly. I'm not a huge Spencer Rattler guy, but
Now, if you get Kyle McCord and Julian Fleming, and this offense is still
oof.
then yeah, Satterfield we're probably gonna have some changes. But at any rate, put me on record for Kyle McCord. That's our prediction right now, and we'll see how that kind of works out. I would think that we would have a decision within the next couple of weeks. That's my hope. At any rate.
Yeah, because if you look at the last time we did this, which was only 2 years ago, Casey Thompson decided before Christmas, and so I assume that, wait, did he decide before Christmas or was it after? I can't remember. I know he
If
had.
think it might have been after. I can't remember though, to be
It
honest.
it was January, but I remember reading in an article now that like he had his mind kind of he had his options sorted out before Christmas. So I think the decision process for the quarterback will probably take place before Christmas, and then it'll get announced probably after the new year. So
So at any rate, guys, hopefully it will be Kyle McCord, but make sure that you hit the subscribe button because we're going to have a bunch of updates on the quarterback position going
do we talk
forward.
about basketball or do we just skip basketball?
We'll just skip basketball.
That
We'll deal
sounds
with
good.
that.
All
We'll
right.
deal with that another day. If you want to read, I do have my reactions to the game at HuskerBigRed.com, so you can check that out and check out our site for a bunch of other great content. But make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.